win scenario, while the hometown Mavericks are one win away from advancing to the conference semifinals for the first time since 2011. There's the man himself, Paul George. Him and Kawhi Leonard have scored or assisted on 71% of the Clippers' points in this series. Kawhi Leonard averaging 30 points per game on 57% shooting in the series against the Dallas Mavericks. Life's a little different when you're not celebrating any longer, when those celebrations turn into expectations. And as a result, the world is watching with a skeptical eye. You're Kawhi Leonard. Suddenly, you're not the two-time NBA champion anymore with two-time NBA Finals MVPs. You're the dude getting smoked by Luka Doncic. You're the dude getting taken to school. You're the dude that was supposed to be the face, the new face of Los Angeles, the one wearing the crown. Nevertheless, you might be about to get bounced out in the first round yet again. Kawhi Leonard, you're on the clock. You watching. There's the man himself, Luka Doncic, averaging 35 this series, schooling the Los Angeles Clippers and way reading the managers. It was the Luka show in Game 5 Wednesday. He scored 42 points, one fewer than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George combined. He also made more shots, had more assists than the two of them as well. On the call for tonight's Game 6 between the Clippers and the Mavericks is analyst extraordinaire Jeff Van Gundy. Coach, welcome to the show. According to Elias, Doncic scored or assisted on 31 of the Mavericks' 37 field goals in Game 5. Why has this man been so dominant?
Well, he has the ball in his hands, and he's super skilled, and he's getting both points and assists. But truthfully, the problem for the Clippers in Game 5 was not their defense on Doncic. It was their offense. They missed far too many shots. Both Leonard and George did not dominate in that game offensively like we've seen when they've played on the road. And so to me, Doncic scored big, had an unbelievable game, but when you hold the Mavericks, who has such a potent offense, to 105 points, you have to win that game at home.
Coach Van Gundy, I will stand down with my basketball knowledge to you any day of the week, but I do need an explanation. Luka Doncic dropped 40 points in 3 quarters. How is that not an issue with the Clippers defense in any capacity?
Well, it's an issue, but it's not the issue. I think sometimes what we do is we conflate, like why you're losing with problems. And Luka Doncic has been a problem. I think what they did, though, do a good job is they guarded everyone else very well for the most part. I thought their bigger problems were offensively. Doncic was spectacular. But if you make a guy take 37 shots and you only allow him to get to the free throw line 3 times, you have done pretty well. 105 points against a very good Mavericks team, 41.5% shooting overall. That's something that you have to be able to score enough, and they didn't score enough, didn't play well enough offensively to win. I think they're going to bounce back and have a huge offensive game.
Wouldn't surprise me if they did that tonight. Game 7 would be another matter. Coach, last question real quickly. Utah Jazz is up next for the winner of this series. Who's the tougher opponent for the Utah Jazz in your estimation? Clippers or Mavs?
The Clippers. They're the most talented team in the Western Conference, and I don't think it's that close.
Coach, always appreciate you. Road team has won the first 5 games of this series. I'll keep that in mind. Coach Jeff Van Gundy, always appreciate your time, buddy. Thank you so much.
Everything that could possibly have gone wrong.
It was a horrible effort.
The Los Angeles Lakers were pathetic. They were soft. They were weak.
They pretty much just kicked our asses. I mean, there's nothing else really to say. It's been a roller coaster for us all year, especially with injuries.
LeBron and Anthony Davis out. The Lakers lost again.
How much ground do they lose come playoff time?
The Phoenix Suns have beaten the defending champion.
It's been mentally draining, spiritually, emotionally draining. And given everything we had up until this moment, time to think about what the offseason has in store.
The Lakers became the 6th defending champion to get knocked out in the first round under the current playoff format. The last time it happened was in 2015 when Chris Paul and the Clippers eliminated the San Antonio Spurs. After the game, LeBron was not that focused on an early playoff exit.
It doesn't matter to me as far as, not making it out of the first round. What matters to me is getting this team back healthy. Me not being able to be at my full strength throughout this series, that's my main focus. But, time to, readjust and think about what the offseason has in store.
Let's welcome in Basketball Hall of Famer himself, the one and only Michael Wilbon, and, of course, NBA champion Kendrick Perkins. Wilbon, I'll go to you first. How do you explain LeBron and the Lakers' early playoff exit, man?
Stephen, there's a pretty straight formula here. They ran into a team that it took us a long time to believe in the Phoenix Suns, a lot of people, not me specifically, but they ran into a really good team, and they weren't whole. They weren't in a great place to get into a dogfight with that team. So with LeBron and AD, the two best players on the team by far, being injured, I kept telling you during the regular season, you can't just walk off the street and be a championship team. The Lakers weren't a championship team with those guys missing that many games. And you have the Phoenix Suns, who had to survive a little bit there with Chris Paul's own injury. But the players like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, those guys were ready to be in that kind of dogfight, and they prevailed. So we shouldn't be all that surprised.
Kendrick Perkins, being the contrarian you are, I imagine your answer is different than what Wilbon just gave to us. Give it to me. What happened with the Lakers?
It was the role players, right? You look at the role players from the Phoenix Suns, a young core and Cameron Payne, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges. They elevated their game. And you look at a veteran group like Caldwell Pope, Dennis Schroeder, Wes Matthews, and Lord knows, don't get me started on Kyle Kuzma, who I had to send my kids upstairs because I didn't want them watching the game no more because I didn't want them picking up bad habits. Andre Drummond, right? Stephen A., I told you this earlier. He had a worldwide tour after he was released from the Cavs. He was a no-show. Role players help you win games in the playoffs, that help you win playoff series, that help you win championships, and they did not perform. LeBron James did what he could, but at the end of the day, this is a team sport, and you need guys to contribute outside of your superstars.
Wilbon, I'll go to you, and then you, KP, follow up real quickly. How much of a threat is Devin Booker, CP3, and the Suns coming out of the West, particularly when Denver's up next?
Well, how much of a threat have they been all season? Once again, Stephen A., they're one game away from having the best record in the league this season, not the conference, the league. And they are. And especially if Chris Paul, has a couple of days to get that shoulder a little bit better. Look, his presence on the floor matters even when he can't produce the kind of numbers we're accustomed to. But they are a threat. And Devin Booker must feel freed up now. He had his first major big stage moment, and he was brilliant during it. And I think the Suns can probably play a little bit more freely, having gotten past the Lakers.
What about you, KP?
They're a serious threat, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make it to the finals. They have two closers in Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They have great role production by Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Payne, and they're well coached. They're defensively sound. They're stars in their role, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Phoenix Suns come out of the Western Conference. I'm not picking them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made it there.
You're not picking them, but you wouldn't be surprised. Wilbon, I don't know where he had them, but all of a sudden, they a big threat. I'm not letting you two get away with it. We're going to have a discussion. As this show progresses, we're going to have a discussion. We are going to have a discussion. Look at Mark Cuban out there. Listen, Mark Cuban. Look, he looks in good shape. Out there shooting. I don't know if I like his shot that much, but he certainly looked like he could shoot better than Kyle Kuzma at this particular moment in time. I'll give you that, KP. Still ahead. Luka's lights-out performance as the Clippers on the brink of elimination. Can Kawhi and PG-13 find the answer to slowing down the Mavs superstar before it's too late? 8 points per game this postseason. That ranks second in the NBA behind only Damian Lillard. For more on Luka, here's our analytics expert, Kirk Goldsberry.
Luka Doncic may not win the MVP this year, but he's definitely been the MVP of the first round of these playoffs.
Just watch.
Doncic is averaging 35 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds per game. Between his own points and the points he's created via assists, Doncic has his hand in, get this, 58 points per game in this series. But he was even better than that in Game 5.
Unconscious! It's Doncic right now!
In Wednesday's huge Game 5 victory, Doncic either scored or assisted on 31 of Dallas's 37 total field goals made. That's 83.8%, and that is the highest such percentage in a game in NBA history, regular season or playoffs. The Mavericks were 14 of 24 off of Luka passes in Game 5, and by the end of the game, Doncic had a direct hand in 75 points.
That's good.
As a scorer, Doncic almost outscored the Clippers superstar duo of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George by himself. Doncic had 42 points. Leonard and George combined for 43.
In your face.
Unless the Clippers can somehow slow down Doncic in Dallas in Game 6, this series and this Clippers season will be over.
Few have been able to slow Luka down this series. Paul George has defended him the most of any Clippers player, but Luka has shot 50% against him. Kawhi Leonard, meanwhile, has been more effective, holding Luka well under a point per play. Mike Wilbon and Kendrick Perkins back with me. Perk, I was going to ask why can't Kawhi or PG stop Luka, but Kawhi apparently is doing a decent enough job. So here's a better question. Why won't he defend Luka more than he's been defending him?
Yeah, and I don't have an answer for you. Look, we're talking about a Kawhi Leonard that is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, right? He earned his stripes by hanging his hats on the defensive end and gradually worked on his offense. But it's been so bad, not only for Kawhi, but it's been bad for Paul George. And it got even worse for Pat Bev when you know Luka is killing so much that he can't even bring value to the court. And we talking about a guy who made his way in the league and established himself in the league on the defensive end. Kawhi Leonard has to exert so much energy on the offensive end that he can't exert that too much energy on the defensive end chasing around Luka.
Wilbon, I'll go to you. Are you surprised by Luka's dominance in this series? He's averaging 35, 9, and 8. I'm shocked. What about you?
I am. Stephen A., I'm very surprised for this reason. Okay, we just isolated talking about Kawhi defensively on Luka. How about Paul George? How many years have we heard Paul George is one of the elite defenders in the league? I don't want to let Paul off the hook that easily. They got two guys. They've got two guys. But you know what was interesting? We saw them get burned a little bit last year by Devin Booker in the bubble. Now we're seeing this with Luka. He's too big and strong and skilled. Jeff Van Gundy just told us that, Stephen A. That's what he's got. Smaller defenders have no chance. And so far, guys his own size aren't faring very well either. So this becomes just like Perk said. There's no answer. Apparently, he is just better than they are right now. And unless they do something about it tonight, they're going to go out of this season with that being the only conclusion.
I'm with you, Wilbon, but what I'm saying is this. I can understand the dudes being smaller. I can understand Paul George being a bit thinner. When you talk about Luka being bigger and stronger than everybody else, that is not applicable to Kawhi Leonard. He's not bigger and stronger than Kawhi Leonard. So what's the problem?
I want to answer that with a question to Kendrick. Perk, it seems to me that just 10 years ago, in your heyday, when you were in the middle of stalking championships, that you guys would insist to the coach, even Doc, I've got this guy. It wasn't an assignment. Everybody in that huddle, everybody in that gym on that team knew who could guard a guy, who needed to be on him, and the player did not wait for the coach to make that assignment. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what I'm expecting out of Kawhi Leonard, is to go and say, forget defensive schemes, I got him. But obviously, Luka Doncic has taken their confidence because, Mike, what he's been doing is he got the clip over his lap, and he's giving them a spanking with a leather belt. So if I'm Ty Lue, what I'm doing is I'm going out here tonight, Stephen A. and Mike, and I'm going to trap Luka. As soon as he cross half court, somebody else got to beat us. I'm going to trap him and go straight into a denial where he can't get the ball back.
Usually I would cut certain people short when they're speaking too much. But when I like what you're saying and there's so much substance to it, I'm going to let y'all go. I'm not usually associated with such things, particularly in the morning, but I'll take it right now. Talk to y'all in a minute. 24 hours until Bucks versus Nets. The Bucks and Nets combined to score nearly 239 points per game during the regular season, tied for the most between teams that met in the playoffs in the last 50 years. And that's despite the Nets' big three playing just 8 games together, none of which were against the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 1 of the Bucks-Nets showdown tips off tomorrow night. We bring Michael Wilbon back in the mix. I want to start with the Nets' big three, Mike. Who needs to have the biggest impact on this series? KD, Harden, or Kyrie?
Stephen A., I don't know if there's a need to, but I think it's going to be James Harden. I mean, we saw that once he got in and settled in, and Kyrie Irving said, we don't even have to discuss this. You are the point guard. Take over. I mean, they obviously, it was not just feeling comfortable, KD and Kyrie, with Harden running the point. They fell in love with it. It works. I mean, Harden, for a while there, Stephen A., he was, to me, the undisputed MVP in like that middle third. Once he got comfortable running the show, that's when they were completely unstoppable. So I think if the Nets are going to find that level of play again, James Harden's going to be leading the way.
You know what? I think you're trying to get me on PTI. I think you want to stir a debate because you say stuff that you know I find to be blasphemous, Mike Wilbon. You don't even bring up Kevin Durant. I can't believe it. But I'm going to move on and get to KD. I'm going to get to him in a different way.
I brought him up.
Here's the deal. What will we find out about Giannis in this series? And is he the best option for defending KD? See how I brought him up?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he is, Steve. I think he's the best option. Look, they're going to get theirs. KD and Kyrie are going to be great. I mean, it's not like somebody's going to stop anybody. Nobody's stopping anybody. But what Giannis has now that he didn't have is he's got guys like PJ Tucker. Middleton's at a better level for him where he doesn't have too much on his shoulders. You got still guys, and I mentioned PJ Tucker. Connaughton, can play even though DiVincenzo's out. You got Portis. You got Bryn Forbes bringing a whole different dynamic out of the middle of nowhere in the final third of the season. Oh, wait, Lopez, both rim protection and as a role player. They are deep. They are talented. They are better than the two teams Giannis lost with in the playoffs the last 2 years. Better, deeper, stronger, tougher, better defensive team.
So who's winning the series, Wilbon? I'm putting you on the spot right now. Who's winning the series?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's
I know you New Yorkers don't like that. You got the Knicks out already. New York basketball is limping along after all that celebrating last week.
Why you got to bring that up? Why you got to bring that up? Why you supposed to be my boy? Why you got to bring that up?
I'm your boy. You know I'm your boy. You know I am. Stephen A., look, Brooklyn should be favored. They may very likely win this series. I'm okay with the underdog here. Here's what you and I know from sitting shoulder to shoulder so many years of these playoffs.
Right.
The team that is just crestfallen, that is heartbroken, a time or two, what do we often see finally in that third season if they can maintain? They break through. I'm expecting that from the Bucks this postseason.
My personal opinion, Mike Wilbon, is I think locale has something to do with season. Milwaukee is near Chicago. And since Chicago is nowhere to be found, you want to pick Milwaukee. I think that's what it is. I got to go.
Like my Midwestern people.
I'll be back with you, sir. Tim Hardaway Jr., there he is, shooting 49% from beyond the arc this postseason. That ranks third in the NBA among players with at least 30 attempts. To look at the Mavs-Clippers series so far in this ultimate highlight.
As we start game 1 in Los Angeles, Luka Doncic, he has to play sensational basketball, maybe for 7 games to win this series. Leonard gets the steal, 3-on-1. Slams it down.
Somebody get that baby out the street. I see you, Kawhi.
Doncic for 3, 30-point game for Luka Doncic. Porzingis on the drive, finishes against Leonard. And the exclamation point by Porzingis.
Our spirits are still high and we believe in ourselves. Nothing good comes easy.
Kawhi knows what time it is. ISO. The two best on the floor against each other on the fall away. The rainbow lands for Luka Doncic. Luka gets the triple on the move. Wow. The shocker of all shockers so far in the first round of the NBA postseason.
I give credit to Luka, man. He's good. He's special.
We can't settle. Know what they're capable of.
It was 30-11 Dallas, and the Clippers have taken the lead for the first time tonight, trying to save their season. George, great pass to Leonard for the dunk. Kawhi 7 of 7 from the floor.
I wish we would have give them a win, but we'll try it on Sunday.
Dallas ends up losing this game. Could that impact the psyche of a young team going into game 4?
George feeling good, knocks it down, and the Clippers are running on all cylinders.
Leonard finds his spot. Relentless.
Everybody stop playing with that boy.
They've got two
great players that are just putting their head down, trying to go through us.
The Los Angeles Clippers have made their statement and have reclaimed the home court advantage.
It's always easier to kind of play on the road because you're the enemy.
Here comes Luka, 35. And Luka taking over. Ooh, the chiseling Doncic. Works niftily around that screen and puts up a three. 40 for Doncic. He is a machine.
What is the message now that you're telling your team?
You gotta win in 7 now.
The away team has won every single game, so it's going to come down to who's going to be the first team to win at home.
Luka has arguably been the difference in the series so far. With him on the floor, the Mavericks have outscored the Clippers by 24 points. But in 44 minutes, with Luka on the bench, Dallas has been outscored by a whopping 38 points. We welcome in the wonderful Ramona Shelburne live from Dallas. Ramona, what's at stake for the Clippers tonight as they face elimination in Game 6?
Well, you know what, Stephen, there's something about this Clipper team. They seem to play their best when the whole world is dissing them, right? Remember last week when they lost the first 2 at home and all of us were angry on TV and disgusted with them? And then they came out and won games 3 and 4 here in Dallas, right? So they go home, they lose again. Their fans are incredulous walking out of the building. And Tyronn Lue is essentially saying, guys, we don't need to be backed up against the wall in order to play well, but here they are backed up against the wall. And you have Kawhi Leonard, who's facing free, who can be a free agent this summer. You know, Paul George, who signed a big extension, but if you lose to the same team that you beat in the first round, if you lose tonight, this is the same team you beat in the first round last year, that means you're going backwards. And that is not what the Clippers had in mind with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard when they got them 2 years ago in the summertime. Right. I think you could see large-scale changes. I know people who work for the Clippers. There could be large-scale changes in that front office, on the coaching staff, on the roster, if they lose this game here tonight.
Ramona, the Mavs went big in Game 5. So what adjustments do the Clippers need to make in order to make sure they negate that in Game 6?
You know what was crazy, Steve? They knew they were going to go big. Ty Lue essentially said before the game, we are anticipating they're going to go big. They're going to put Boban Marjanovic in there. They're going to play some zone. Essentially, the Mavs have such poor rim protecting defenders out there. They kind of just have to clog up the lane and force the Clippers to shoot outside. They're daring them to shoot from 3. So the Clippers were a little hesitant. And then they also didn't make him. Kawhi Leonard, 1 for 7 from 3. Paul George, 3 for 7 from 3. Got to hit those outside shots, and you also got to take more of them if they're giving them to you.
Ramona, keep doing a great job that you're doing and enjoy that game tonight, all right? You take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right. Transitioning back to the Lakers were sent home last night by the Phoenix Suns, and for LeBron James, that meant he took his first series loss in the first round of the playoffs after having a 14-0 career record. It was also the first time LeBron had even lost consecutive games in a first-round playoff series. We welcome in the great one himself, the ultimate insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, what type of moves can we expect from the Lakers during this offseason?
Stephen A., the Lakers are very limited by the salary cap and the assets they have to do trades, to really make dramatic change with this roster. They've got to re-sign Dennis Schroeder. He turned down $84 million over 4 years during the season because he believes and his group believes there's more available out in free agency. LA's going to have to pay for him. And how about Alex Caruso, who could be a player, that in free agency this summer, that somebody offers around $10 million a year in the high 9s at that mid-level exception. And so for the Lakers, with Kyle Kuzma, KCP, how much value do those players with their contracts really have in the trade market? I think LA's focus has to be on getting AD healthy and keeping the players they have out of free agency and re-signing them.
Let's stick with the Lakers for a second, Woj, because LeBron wasn't the only superstar who exited the playoffs last night. Actually, I'm moving on from the Lakers because I want you to listen to a disappointed Damian Lillard last night when asked about Portland's offseason changes. Listen to this.
To come up short in the first round, our season to end on our home floor is disappointing. That's as far as I am with it right now. I'm not really thinking about none of the other change or whatever, man. We'll see what happens, but I haven't even thought that far out.
Lillard also posting this on Instagram using lyrics from the late, great Nipsey Hussle. How long should I stay dedicated? How long till opportunity meets preparation? Woj, what will this offseason look like for Lillard and the Blazers?
Stephen, I think the focus right now in the short term for the Blazers is on Coach Terry Stotts. He just finished his 9th season with the Blazers, second all-time winningest coach in franchise history, but this team has fallen short of getting out of the first round in 4 of the last 5 years. And defensively, this is a team that pretty consistently has been in the bottom few in the league, certainly among the elite offensively. And so I think it may be difficult for the Blazers to move forward with Terry Stotts. They're having those conversations right now, but I do think there was a belief in Portland that with a beat-up Denver team that was missing several of their key players, that they had the talent perhaps to be more competitive and to perhaps maybe gotten out of that first round.
They may have a difficult time moving forward, but we never have a difficult time moving forward because you always providing us information that lets us do that. Thanks a lot, Woj. Always appreciate you big time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Mike Wilbon, Kendrick Perkins, back with us right now. Wilbon, I'll go to you first. How should Dame Lillard feel today about his future with the Blazers?
I'm sure about his future with the Blazers.
That's right.
They're not going to get rid of Dame Lillard. I mean, you know how hard it is, particularly for a small market team, to acquire a superstar. Dame Lillard is a superstar. He's in my top 3. After you set LeBron aside, Steph Curry and Dame Lillard are the 2 players, and we're adding Luka soon, that I would pay whatever amount of money to see, all right? So you get rid of Dame Lillard? No, you better find people to put around Dame Lillard and maybe a defensive coordinator. I'm not saying you got to let Terry Stotts go. There are defensive aces. There always are in this league that can be on your bench. You better find one of those, or you're going to have to find a couple of players that whether it's through free agency, and I know it's not a destination, or trade, or draft, keep Dame Lillard. Figure out how to make that ensemble around him stronger.
Perk, you think that Damian Lillard could get out of Portland if he wants to? Or do you think he's stuck there?
He need to. If he knew better, he'll do better. And here's why. Damian Lillard has been carrying this organization for the last 8 years, okay? And he's been doing everything he's supposed to do as a superstar. You know what this situation remind me of? Of Kevin Garnett when he was in Minnesota. And guess what? They're at the same point of their career, same age, where KG had been carrying the Minnesota Timberwolves. And what did KG say at his Hall of Fame speech? The one regret that I had is that I didn't come to Boston earlier. And I don't want Damian Lillard to have that same regret. It's time for him to move on because no one is going to Portland. That is not eye candy to the basketball world.
Guys, I've been expressing the same sentiments for the last 2 years or so. I spoke to Damian Lillard a couple of hours ago. He was absolutely devastated, virtually speechless because of what happened last night. He said, I gave it my all. I put my heart into this. I wasn't casting aspersions at the Portland Trailblazers, any of my teammates, or anybody else. I'm just sick of this. This hurts so damn much because I give my all to it. And that was all that he had to say on this matter. I feel bad for him because I don't see any marquee free agents coming to Portland to help him deliver a chip. And that's why I think, Wilbon, he's got to find a way to get the hell out of there. That's just my personal opinion. He's an incredible asset. You could potentially move him and get tremendous assets in return for him. But I think him staying there, I don't know if he's going to get what he wants.
Or you can get some assets and put them around him. Let management do the same work, resources, get some people, put them around. You get rid of Dame Lillard, as Shaq once said about Sacramento after they lost, they're going back to expansionism. That's where Portland's going to be for a while if they let Dame Lillard go. Man, keep Dame Lillard. If you're management, you better find a way.
Hey, Perk, check it out. Both of us got to stand down, not only because Wilbon might be right, but also because that's a pretty damn good Shaq imitation. That was pretty good, Wilbon. I got to give it to you. Still ahead, the legend of Luka continues to grow in these playoffs. Hear former NBA greats describe what's best about the Mavs superstar. Plus, I'm calling out the must-see moments from around the NBA. Find out who lands on tonight's playoff edition of Who Knew You Did It?